Okay guys, I'm trying this one more time. Third time is the charm, right? Tried to go live twice and keep getting disconnected. I think I may have an unstable internet connection at my new place. I don't know of that happening. It's news to me, but we're going to try to do this again. We're trying to do a fun day Thanksgiving video. So as you come into the chat, let me know that you're here so we can see if we've got an audience for this. If not, we'll just have to try something another day. The goal here is to have a fun Thanksgiving, and hopefully the internet doesn't kick out this last time. So we'll kind of see how it goes. I'm working from my phone now, if you can tell, so we're looking at a different angle. Because I just don't know what was happening with my internet with my desktop computer. So we're going to try it one more time, guys. I see we have some people joining us. Let me know if you're here in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me and if you can see me, since I am now using my phone camera instead of using my PC setup. So let me know if everything is good, and I'm just gonna get into the swing of things once I get some feedback. So I'm just gonna get my computer up to speed here too, so I can check those comments, and hopefully we'll be able to do this thing. All right, Daniel says, yes sir, I can hear you fine. Awesome, thank you for that. Everything is good. Hello, Ebony, what is going on? Awesome, thank you so much. I feel bad because I sent out the link earlier, so now we're probably missing a whole lot of folks to do this. I was really excited to do this. VHH says, I can see you also. Perfect. So hopefully some more folks will join. Hopefully they'll get the clue. And Lala says, I can hear you. Awesome. Hopefully some more folks will be able to see that we're live and we can get more people on this. But in the meantime, what we're doing is we're kind of just relaxing. I have some personal questions that I'm going to answer. So this is going to be more of like a, not like personal, like, who was your first crush or anything like that, but more like fun, lighthearted questions. If you have anything that you want to ask me that might be fun, lighthearted for the, the holiday season that we're entering, maybe something you want to know about me, let me know. Put it in the chat. I do have some questions, like I said, prepared. I don't know if I have enough. We'll just see, how it goes. So yeah, I think we can go ahead and get started with the first one here. And, I know there's going to be probably a lot of folks watching this on replay. So go ahead and put Team Replay in the chat if you are watching this on replay, so that we can count you in all the fun in the future when you're watching this as well. So I have this mug here. Some of you may be able to recognize this mug. This is from The Office. So one of the questions that I have prepared is, how many times have I seen The Office? And this is something that I thought of because there's people that have watched it so many times, right? So I figured I'd throw my hat in the ring. So I've seen it 4 times. I've watched The Office all of the seasons 4 times, and I don't think that makes me anywhere near a diehard fan or anything like that. I think there's people that have seen it 10 to 20 times. And actually, it's been a while since I've seen The Office. I know, like, on Saturdays, they put that on. There's this channel where they got it playing all day long. So I watch some of the random episodes also. But, I think 4 times is a pretty respectable number. If any of you guys are Office fans, I am one. That's why I'm rocking the mug today. I actually made this mug. If you guys, it's one of the things you probably don't know about me, is I actually do make and sell coffee mugs as kind of like a side hustle type thing. I've been doing it for like 7 years or so. I sell on Etsy primarily as a platform. So, that's one of the things that you also probably don't know about me. But this mug is hilarious, so I thought it'd be a good starter question to answer. But if any of you guys like The Office, let me know in the chat. I'm just in the process of pulling myself up on my desktop here so I can see the comments. Okay. And it's actually showing that there's no comments, even though, okay, here we go. So Ehab says, can non-citizens get government contracts? I get this question a lot, and there is something called the NATO North American Treaty that exists with other countries. So other countries, Ehab, that work with the United States, that participate in the NATO agreement, even though there are non-US citizens, there are ways to do government contracting from another country if you are a non-US citizen. If you are not within one of those NATO countries, to my knowledge, it's just not going to work. There's too many threat levels with the government, too many things to overcome, too many basically potential threats, especially with countries that are not, friendly with the United States. There's going to be no way. Now that doesn't say that there aren't U.S. bases and U.S. locations that are in other countries, but those are still U.S. bases and U.S. locations, if that makes sense. So I have seen folks do business with those military bases, but it's really a whole different animal, and I'll just be upfront and say that is not my area of expertise at all. So yeah, and you said, how about U.S. residents? Well, I'm not sure if you're talking about green card holders, but again, it's a different process that you have to go through when you register in SAM. What I would recommend you do is contact the Federal Service Desk, and they would be able to answer these type of questions, because I don't want to give you the wrong information. I know it's a lot more of a process, and you have a much stronger chance of not being basically allowed to do it. You're going to have to answer a lot of questions. They may do some investigation. It's just not something that they take lightly if you're a non-US resident, but there's hope. I'm not saying it's definitely a no. Contact the Federal Service Desk. Just type that into Google, and you can get on the phone with somebody and they can help you answer those types of questions. So you said great, so awesome. I hope that helps. That's a good question, and honestly, I wish I had better information on that. I get that question so much, but I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm an expert in everything with government contracting. I'm just not. I'm just here to talk about my experience and share the things that I can talk about, and that's really all that I know about that. Daniel says, I just started a company called Junkbox, which is a junk removal and hauling. Let me see here, my chat. Man, the rig I got going on, guys, is amazing here. My chat's getting cut off. So I just started a company called Junkbox, which is junk removal and hauling. Does the government have contracts for construction debris, trash cleanup, waste removal? I'm also a disabled vet 100%. Okay, so Daniel, I'll comment on the second thing first. I'm a disabled vet 100%. Thank you for your service. But on this note, I have to ask you if you're certified, because if you're not certified CVE through the Department of Veteran Affairs, it doesn't matter if you're a disabled vet. It only matters if you have the certification. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Vets First program that the VA offers, but that's something to look at if you're not. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to take advantage of that. But your main question here, does the government have contracts for this? So this is a general question that I get all the time. Does the government buy this? I do this. Does the government do this? And it's a very good question, and I'm always happy that the question is being asked at the beginning of getting into government contracting. But what this means is you have to do your own research. So there's a few things I offer it in one of my free courses on what should I sell to the government. I have a course called that. It's totally free. And what you need to do is you need to work backwards to answer this question. Basically, essentially saying, I'm doing this junk removal and hauling. Can I get government contracts for this? This is your question. This is what you're wanting to know. But it's more specific than that, because I could tell you yes, but that's not going to help you, right? Like if I tell you yes, then you're just going to have another question and you're going to say, well, how do I find those? So you have to get down to the nitty gritty, and it comes down to identifying the NAICS codes that junk removal and hauling would be associated with, and then using those NAICS codes to go to USA Spending to find what agencies are buying the most of that NAICS code. Because it's not enough to just say, okay, 541330 is engineering services, so I know the government buys it. That's not enough. You could literally do that and then fail because there's not enough contracts going around. So first you need to identify the NAICS code or the product and service code, the PSC code, and then you need to take it a step further. And I show you how to do this in my course that I referenced, my free course, to go over to USA Spending and find which agencies are buying the most of that NAICS code, and then begin having conversations with those agencies that are buying, whatever it is you're looking for, to find out more about their contracts. So you can set up meetings with the small business office at those agencies. Sometimes you can even, do a presentation to a contracting officer or a PM or a core. Kind of depends on your ability to develop relationships, but it's a process. And the process begins with you sitting behind your computer. You can easily do this, and doing a little bit of research. So I don't know if you've done any of that, Daniel. If you're asking me if the government buys it, my question to you is, well, what research have you done? I know that the government buys it. I don't know how much of it they buy, and I don't know which agencies buy the most of it. So those are more interesting questions to ask, and if you get those answers, you're going to be able to have a more solid business model when you're just getting started out. And I'm speaking generally because this applies to a lot of you. I know this applies to others who are watching this live right now, or those of you who are watching this on replay. You're thinking about getting into government contracting. You have an idea of something, but you need to see essentially, is it a proven concept? It's not enough to say you have an idea and you're going to force the government to buy it from you. You can't do that. You have to see, does the government really need it? Is there a true demand? You need to do stress tests for demand to prove this proven concept. Can you build a business out of it or not? I don't know. You have to do the research. So I know it may not be the best answer, but it's the rightest and the truest answer that I can give you for that question. And I get that question all the time from a lot of people. So thank you for an opportunity to respond to that. Joy asked, I have a company called For Your Glory Cleaning. Awesome, love it. We are waiting for our minority business enterprise certification to clear. Cool. I know the holiday things are slowing down, so I hope to go full force in 2021. Awesome. Thanks for acknowledging, Joy. Thanks for acknowledging the seasonality of the government, because things are super slow right now. Unless you're into like snow removal or road salt or some of these seasonal type things, they may be a lot more maybe the busy time for those type of contracts, but for most of us it's not. So you are right on. Use this time to sharpen your saw, to do your research, like I was just talking about with Daniel, to do your research, to pinpoint agencies, target agencies, put some tacks on a map, tack up a board, create an attack plan for 2021, and then get after it. That's what you should be doing right now, so that when January hits, you don't have to waste any time. So I love it. And you also say, Joy, any recommendations to get prepared? Maybe start reading RFPs. So yeah, that's kind of what I was just, a couple of the things I was just offering up for you. Specifically, you can find your target agencies. You can also check the forecasts for those agencies. So they will have them usually posted publicly online at their websites. So a procurement forecast is a list of contracts with some basic information like dollar value, who is the contracting officer going to be, what's the scope going to be, all for the year ahead, 2021. So this is something that most serious government contractors do. Joy, if you want to prepare, check out your target agencies, and if you don't know them, do the process that I explained to Daniel also. And then once you know them, take it a step further, even further than that, and get the procurement forecast so you can see the contracts that are going to be coming out in the future. And then you can stand a chance at basically building your sales pipeline, your proposal pipeline. You'll know at the different points during the year when contracts are going to be coming up, so you can kind of plan on them. You can respond to the market research when it comes out, and then you can start responding to proposals once an RFP or an RFQ is truly issued. You'll be ready to go to respond to that. That's typically the process. I'm going to be going into a lot of depth in that process in the new program that I'm working on, that is going to be coming out at the beginning of the new year. Guys, I'm really trying to get it done in January, and that's basically, it's going to be a year-long program, so that's exactly what the program goes through. That will be coming out in January, I hope, and more information to follow on that. But if you don't have a lot of experience reading RFPs, Joy, I would start today, because it's just like learning to crawl before you walk. The more experience you get, the better. I would rather you get the experience reading, so that when an actual RFP comes out that you truly are interested in responding to, that you're good to go and you've got some experience under your belt. So depending on what your experience level, that's what I would recommend. Yada Montreal, how are you? Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. It's not necessary whatsoever. We're just hanging out today, but thank you so much. I'm glad to see you on the YouTube Live as a fellow business owner that is on a lot of our lives together. It's great to see you back, and it's great to be back. So thank you so much for that, and I'm happy to see you on the chat here. Yada, if you have any questions, we're kind of keeping it relaxed today. I have some kind of fun personal questions that I'm responding to in between, kind of like GovCon Q&As that we have in the chat. So kind of just bouncing back and forth. So I will answer another one of these questions, and then I'll come back to the chat. And if you missed it, we talked for a few minutes about The Office. I am a huge Office fan. That's why I'm rocking my Office mug here today. And if we have any other Office fans, let me know. So let me see here. Fun fact about me that you don't know. Well, I'm a drummer. That's probably something that you guys don't know. I've been a drummer since I was, I'd say 13, since I did the whole garage band thing. I was in a band for like 7 years, and yeah, kind of like a rock band, and I still drum today. I traded in my kit for an electronic kit so that I can actually play without the neighbors yelling at me, or my girlfriend telling me that I'm being too loud or anything like that, even though she wouldn't. Yeah, so I'm a drummer. I love drumming. I love rock drumming. I'm self-taught. And yeah, I meant to bring in some drumsticks in here to show you guys. But yeah, it's something that I do 3 or 4 times a week that you probably didn't know about me. So if there's any musicians in the house, my hat's off to you. Let's rock. I believe we've got some more questions in the chat here, so let me come back to the chat. Drew says, I'm a college student. Do you think it's possible to start a GovCon business? Also in Michigan, I have done a lot of research and looked at your course. So what's going on, Drew? I actually just moved from Michigan to Alabama, southern Alabama. So we used to live in the same state, but I literally just moved about 2 months ago. But other than that, I lived in Michigan my whole life. Beautiful state, at least parts of it, right? But good question. I mean, you're a college student. Can you get into government contracting? You absolutely can. If you're legal and over the age of 18, or you're 18 or older, you can get into government contracting. But it's such a bigger question than that. Can you get into it? Yes, of course. Should you get into it? I don't know. There's so many questions. Where would you begin? And I think what would be most helpful to a lot of you is to stop. You may not like to hear this, but it's my job here as a coach. It's not about you. Business is not about you. Business may be something that is a fit for you, but it's about your customer. It's about your client. So Drew, if you're thinking about getting into government contracting, my first question to you is, well, how good do you know your client? How well do you know the US federal government? It's a totally different feel when you ask that question and you consider what that actually means. And if you tell me you know nothing at all about the US federal government or any agencies or anything that they buy, then why would you do a GovCon business? You know, I'm just playing devil's advocate with you, Drew. Obviously, I have no idea what your level of experience is. And if you do know your customers, then I would take it a step further and say, well, what do your customers need? What are your customers willing to buy? What problems can you solve? It's the one thing, guys, me, you, everybody, we can't get away from what problem do they need solved, okay? So if you know who your customer is, if you don't, you're in much worse trouble or much worse shape if you don't even know who your customer is. But if you do, okay, what problems, what challenges do they have? That is what all these solicitations are. Think of all these bids, these RFPs, these RFQs on beta.sam. These are problems, these are challenges that the government needs solved. Which problems can you solve best? Okay? If you can't solve anything, then no, you shouldn't do a GovCon business. But this is why we talk about the different areas of industry, different types of industries. What experience can you bring to the table? What area are you or can you become an expert at, or at least a level of competency to compete with other small businesses that are in the same field as you? You need to at least get to that level. So what can you do? What can you bring to the table? You don't have to be, an expert 100% everything to get into GovCon. You know, the barrier to entry is not that high, but you got to be able to do something. So that's kind of my long-winded answer to, you're a college student. Is it possible for you to start a government contracting business? Yes, it is. A better question is, should you? And that's kind of what I responded to. So I hope that maybe helps to get the hamster wheels turning in a different direction, or an additional direction to maybe help you answer that question, Drew. Thank you for the question. Camila says, finally joined back. See you're live. Hello, all. My name is Camila. Camila, this is my first time live. Welcome. Thank you so much for dropping by. Camila also says that they offer janitorial services in SF. I'm assuming SF is maybe San Francisco. It's the only thing that I could think of. I don't think SF is a state. So I'm going to assume San Francisco, Camila, unless you correct me on that. But yeah, janitorial services is definitely something that's in demand. We had a few members. Oh, South Florida. Awesome. Okay. In South Florida, you're not that far from me. I'm in South Alabama. So Florida is like 30 minutes. I'm 30 minutes from Pensacola now. So it would be awesome one day to be able to meet up with some folks in the neighboring states. I know a lot of you are in Florida, so that would be really cool. But I know South Florida, you're pretty far away. It's probably like 6 hours away, but maybe in the future we could make some sort of event happen. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, coming back, janitorial services is definitely something that the government offers. I don't know which level you're at, Camilla, in government contracting, but if you just do a quick search on beta.sam, you're going to have a number of contracts, RFPs and RFQs pull up for janitorial services and janitorial related type services as well that maybe you could perform on. So that's a great area and a great niche to be in, especially if you're already doing that in the commercial space. To bring that experience, it's going to make you that much more deadly and dangerous in this game. So that's awesome. Lala says, I love The Office. Lala, my beautiful girlfriend, of course she loves The Office because she watches it with me all the time. Yeah. Joy said, got it. Thank you so much. You're so welcome, Joy. I'm enjoying hanging out with you guys, and I've missed it so much. If I know that Yada had dropped a chat here, and she's been on so many lives. if any of you have been on the previous lives, let me know. Ryan350, Ryan, I definitely recognize you, sir. Glad to see you back here as well. But yeah, just want to reconnect with all you guys. It's been a minute since we've been live together, and you know what? Like, I'm always in such a good mood after this because you guys just even if it's not a big deal, but just talking to you guys. I know it's just me staring at my phone right now because my freaking camera died on me earlier, but just talking to you guys, like, you remind me why I'm doing this. I do this full time. This is my full-time job. I'm not working anymore. Most of you probably already know my story, but I spend so much time every single day thinking about, like, what can I do, and I'm trying to be strategic about it and be a smart business person, even though, like, I'm still learning. But just, you know, doing these YouTube lives are one of the things that over the last 2.5 years that I've been doing this now, since I quit my government contracting job, it's probably the thing that I enjoy the most, I think. So it's really cool just hanging out with you guys. So I just want to say that. But, you know, I know you're here for value. I know that you guys are trying to do something. You're trying to shake it up. You're trying to, you know, build your business. You're trying to relate with other people that are just like you. And, you know, I also, you know, want to do what I can to bridge that gap for you. But, you know, it's not just me. It's all of you guys on the chat here and in the Facebook group and everywhere. It's all of you guys that you can also help each other too. And that's the whole synergy effect. So, yeah, I just want to commend you guys for that. Camilla says, yes, for sure. I am also in a good mood. It's good to be with positive thinkers. Love the online community with the same goals. Absolutely, 100%. You absolutely nailed that. You know, people that are doing this thing, government contracting, think about it. You guys here, at the time of, you know, timestamp this, there's 16 people on here right now. You 16 folks are less than, I mean, I don't want to say less than 1% because obviously you're less than 1%, but less than 1% of the United States probably even knows what government contracting is, right? And we have 16 people here that are showing up to go deeper on that. Like, think of the status of that, how that sets you apart. I mean, it's a Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, and here you are trying to get more information about government contracting for, you know, the year coming up, the year ahead, like, and that's what the online community is all about. I mean, look at you, good for you. That's just, you know, a mini golf clap, applause, like, I don't know what you want to call it. I'm awkward because I'm holding this tea, so it's hard for me to clap, but let's just keep it rolling, guys. It's been a while since I've been live, so bear with me. All right, so we have another chat. Lisette says, when bidding in Unison Marketplace, should you have the supplier already, or do you have time to obtain one? So, Lisette, good question. I don't talk about Unison Marketplace all the time. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's just, it used to be called Fed Bid. And what it is the reverse auction that's primarily focused on providing commodity type goods. There's not a whole lot of services offered. It's primarily goods. And what it focuses on is a lot of, like, deliveries. There's not a whole lot of performance, although there's some. So that is the platform that Lisette is referring to. And Lisette's saying, well, when you bid, should you already have that supplier ready to go, or do you have time to obtain one? So if you're bidding, that means you're getting pricing from a supplier. So that means you must have already established some sort of contact, some sort of relationship. So finding one or obtaining one, you have to define that, because you should already have the relationship built so that you can just pick up the phone and say, let's go. Like, here, we got the award. I'm going to send you over the purchase order. You know, let's do this. You should be able to do that, Lisette. I wouldn't just bid and kind of, like, either make up your own pricing, or, like, even if you know the pricing in your industry and you don't need to get a quote, I would at least have that thing ready to go if you get the award, because you don't usually have a whole lot of time for turnaround. I've seen it very often on Unison Marketplace where something needs to be delivered within a week of the award. So if you haven't obtained your supplier yet and you get an award and you still have to go through that extra step, which may or may not be time consuming and difficult for you, I would at least have warmed up a contact on the side. And here's the good thing, okay? Because this question is a general question, but the answer is very specific in that it depends on what you're bidding on, because it's going to let you know the delivery date. So if you don't have a delivery date for a month, or within like 30 days or something like that, after you get your notice to proceed, or after the contract is signed, if they tell you you've got 30 days to deliver it and it's only going to take you a few days, well, you probably have a little bit of time in there to obtain a supplier. So you can kind of treat it on a case-by-case basis is my specific answer, but my general answer is it's always good to at least have them just a phone call away. That's how I would do it. So I hope that helps answer that question. Okay, so let's get into something a little bit more meaty, if you will. And let me know if it's too dark. Is it too dark for you guys? It seems to be really dark in here. I can turn my overhead light on if it's really dark. If you can't see me, it's just going to create some nasty shadows. But if it's getting hard, I feel like the light is changing outside my window. But yeah, just let me know in a little bit if you want me to change my lighting here. Camilla says, no, it's fine. Looks a little sunny. Cool. That's good to know. All right. I'll just keep my butt in the seat. Yusuf also says looking great. So, all right. I won't change anything. If you guys are good, I'm good too. I'm just thinking of you as well. Lori, comfortable. I am. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, Lori. Thank you so much. And you're so welcome also, Lisette. I hope that helped a little bit to answer your question. Camilla says, I have a question for janitorial services in my area. Am I supposed to go to the local level or state level? Since Florida is so big, I'm a little confused where to start bidding. Okay, I'll just give you my short answer on that, Camilla. I will say that there is, when it comes to government contracts, government can be city, right? It can be municipal, it can be state, it can be county, it can be federal. Everything that I do and I talk about is in the federal space because federal is the only experience that I have. I've never won a state contract. I've never tried to. I have a little bit of experience in the arena. I know a little bit about it, but it's not what I do. And I'm not saying it's bad. It's not bad. But there are some restrictions that come with locality with that don't exist with federal. So with federal, I mean, you can have a business in Michigan and win a contract in California. But if I was trying to do government contracts on the state level in Michigan, well, I'm only going to be doing contracts in Michigan, right? So then the thing that Pandora box that opens up is, well, what type of business am I doing? If it's construction, then I need to be in that area because it's going to be very difficult to have, just supply chains, economies of scale, efficiencies if you're operating outside another state. So I find a lot of construction industries, if they're bidding on a local area, they just stay in that area. And so you become a little bit restrictive. If you're doing something like staffing, well, you can kind of staff all over the country. It doesn't require you to be there physically, right? Because you're just having a person work on a base or if it's state level, maybe work at a state level agency or something like that. So coming back to your question, it kind of depends. There is no supposed to, but guess what I'm getting at is there's different strategies, okay? If you want to go super local on a city level, if you want to go state, or if you want to open it up to federal, there are different things. So for example, MBE, I believe you Camilla, I believe you mentioned that earlier. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody mentioned the MBE, Minority Business Enterprise. That is not a federal certification. So the federal government does not recognize that. Okay, it doesn't do anything for you on the federal level. That's something that would be more on a state level. So I apologize that they make things so confusing. But for example, MBE, it doesn't do anything for you on the federal level. If I was to start a brand new government contracting business today to go after federal government contracts, I would not get the MBE because it's not going to do anything. Okay, I know a lot of government contractors that do MBE and it doesn't do anything for them. You said EDWOSB. Okay, awesome. So if you're economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, that is a federal level cert, and that absolutely applies. That's one of the main certifications for the federal level. So you're fine there. You're good there. I thought you or somebody had said MBE, but maybe I missed that. But again, where do you start? It depends on your strategy. I teach federal. If you're wanting to go federal, listen to what I have to say. If you want to really drill down on state stuff, find somebody who has a strategy on state. Some of the stuff I teach will apply to state, but it's not exactly the same. And then the same for city type stuff. At the end of the day, it's all bidding, it's all relationships. That is the same for all three levels. So hopefully that helps. I know it's not a great answer, but again, I try to give the most truthful answers. Let me see here. The Fred, what's going on, the Fred? I've been missing you too as well. Thanks for jumping in on the chat here. We've got a few folks from the past past YouTube lives that have joined on the chat. So that's awesome. Thanks for seeing you, the Fred. It's great to see you. Joy said MBE. I knew I wasn't going crazy. Thank you, Joy. Yeah, I knew that I saw MBE somewhere. MBE is good, but it's just not relevant for federal. But hey, if you're doing federal and state, then you're going to want to have that so that you can play in both arenas, both fields. So yeah. Awesome. Okay, guys, I'm going to come back to another one of my questions that I have prepared. So I'm just gonna take a hot second to take a break from the chat and talk about another one of the questions I have prepared. Kind of a fun fact type thing that a lot of you probably don't know about me. So I went to school because I thought I wanted to be a financial advisor. So I got my bachelor's degree in financial advising, not in financial advising. I got a bachelor's degree in finance, but then I kind of quickly realized that that was not exactly the direction I wanted to go in. So it was also the time that the economy had tanked. It was just leading up to 2008, 2009, when everything just hit the fan, right? So I stayed in school for 2 more years, and I got my master's degree. I got an MBA in international business. And the whole reason I got that degree was because I wanted to travel. My thought was, hey, I mean, the world is becoming smaller and smaller, and I didn't see that type of degree going out of style anytime soon into the future. Like international is only going to become more relevant, right? So that's why I decided to get the MBA international degree, and the bachelor's degree, in finance, which I didn't really end up using a whole lot of. But so the cool thing about this is that I did get to travel. There were 2 trips I got to go on while I was getting this degree that we went, outside the country. So my first trip was to China. Like, talk about culture shock and just jumping in the deep end. I'd never really traveled outside the country before that. So I went to China and Taiwan for 2 weeks. I went to Shenzhen, Shanghai, Beijing, and then Taipei in Taiwan. It was a 2-week process. I got to do the Great Wall of China. Got to see a lot of pretty cool stuff, I would say. But for me, it was scary. Like, when the plane touched back down in the United States, like I said a prayer. I'm like, oh my, thank you. Like, and I gained a newfound appreciation for this country, because like when you're over there, like your rights are not the same. Like you don't have your rights. Like something could happen to you, and with as like crowded and everything that it is over there, I mean, there's a lot of great things in China. For me, it was actually kind of scary, and it was kind of dirty. I did experience the pollution, very packed area, and yeah, I didn't have the best experience, but I've got some stories I got a couple of crazy stories that I could share about that. But just the fun fact for me is that I got my MBA in international business. I got to travel. I went to China and Shanghai, and then on my second trip, I got to go over to Europe, so that was cool. So we went to the UK, we went to France, Germany. I got to visit Prague in the Czech Republic. That was probably my favorite place. I think that was yeah, and London. Yeah, I said the UK, but London was the other place. So those are pretty cool things to visit. So I did a lot of traveling early on, and I got to see a lot of the world through that international degree. And I definitely recommend traveling to anybody who hasn't done it. But it kind of burned me out a little bit, and I've just been really appreciating the United States ever since then, kind of traveling within the country. But yeah, if anybody's been to any of those cool places like Prague or Beijing or Shanghai, you can definitely relate probably with some of the things I'm saying, and we could probably swap stories sometimes. But yeah, maybe something that you didn't know about me. So let's go back to the chat. Fred says, work, very busy. Hey, Fred, I hear you, man. Hopefully it's a labor of love, and if it's not, hopefully you're able to work towards that. But Phyllis says, hello, everyone. What's going on, Phyllis Howard? How are you? Lori says, I originally became a loan originator and left the carrier myself before starting a nonprofit organization. How cool is that? So you originally were a loan originator, and then you left and then started a nonprofit. Lori, what is your nonprofit all about? If you care to share, I invite you to share what is your nonprofit all about. That sounds interesting. There's all sorts of different nonprofits, so it could be anything. That sounds really, really cool. Yusuf says, sorry you missed my question. Yusuf, let me go back up. Let me go back up. Yusuf, I don't see your question. If you could just type it in the chat again. Sorry I missed it. I'm bouncing back and forth. So sometimes I miss things, but it's never on purpose. So if you want to re-ask your question, Yusuf, I will be happy to answer it. And if I missed anything else from anybody else, feel free, because I'm bouncing back and forth, like I said. Jen Adolph says Team Replay. What's going on, Jen? Jen, technically you're not on Team Replay because we are still live. So how are you? Okay. Well, I guess it's time for another question since we don't have any more chats. Or actually, Camilla said, good to know about MBE. Where do you find your state bidding website if you happen to know? So that's a good question. And honestly, I believe it's something very different for each state. So I don't know. I don't know where you would find that because I know every state has their own different thing. It's almost like, I'm trying to think of what we had in Michigan before I moved. It's almost like just when they set up their own website for the thing and they give it their own name. It's just not anything that is something that carries over, that they like make the same for all 50 states. It's just like totally different. So I would just recommend getting on Google. Sorry, I don't have a better answer for that, but that's a good question. Lori says, we keep the art of lapidary and jewelry design alive and teach job skills like woodsmithing and specialty diet culinary skills. That's really cool, actually. I don't know what lapidary is, but I know what jewelry design is. I actually worked, you guys are probably gonna think this is crazy. I was a manager at a jewelry store for 2 months. It's like, what? And I'm actually partially colorblind, so that job really was not a fit for me at all. And I got fired from that job because I told off the accountant because she was doing stuff with the behind the owner's back. She was doing something that I knew was not right and that the owner wouldn't wouldn't approve of, and it may have been illegal. But he would basically tell her to do something one way, and then she would tell me, "Oh, don't tell him. We just do it this way." And I wasn't a narc, but I didn't like her, and she was something that I didn't like. So I kind of told her off and I got fired. So I wasn't planning on telling that story. But yeah, I was that's what I know about jewelry. I got to work as a manager. So I got to learn some cool stuff about jewelry. He was an amazing jewelry designer himself. He had 2 guys that cut gems and things like that in the basement. So I did get a little bit of jewelry experience. That's kind of cool. I know that's probably not what you're talking about, but okay, it's the art of cutting semi and precious stones. Got it. That's pretty cool. So yeah, they did cut stones. So I guess my story was a little bit relevant. And that's awesome that you do that as a nonprofit too. So awesome. Thanks for sharing, Lori. That's really cool. That's really cool. The Fred says, do you find RFQ solicitations slow during the holidays? Absolutely. Things are really slow. It's why it's kind of like when it snows, you want to ski. You know, like you don't want to build your GovCon business in a way that you're reliant on bidding throughout the whole year, because like, oh, the contract's going to end and then we're not going to have anything to bill out against, so the revenue is going to go away, so we have to keep bidding. Okay, some people have said that government contracting is just a numbers game. I disagree. I say it's partly a numbers game, and it's partly who you know. It's partly a relationship game. So what happens is when it's hunting season, it's time to hunt. And when it's farming season, it's time to farm, right? So if you're trying to hunt all year round, you're going to starve. If you're trying to farm all year round, you will starve at some point. So instead, you want to develop both of these skill sets. And I'm talking about this because this is what I'm putting into the new program that, you know, I've been talking about. It's based on being able to do government contracting all year round. So the Fred, yes, things get slow, and when things get slow, that means it's time to do other things, so that you're kind of working with the yin and the yang of government contracting, and that is the best way to build a GovCon business. That's the best type of foundation to build it on, instead of just going ham doing one thing year round, because you probably will starve at some point if you're trying to do that. Camilla says, but sometimes you can find federal work in your state, right? So there is a chance to do federal work too and not have to travel so far. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like don't get me wrong when I'm talking about the restrictions of state contracts. There are also federal contracts in your state. Depends on, you know, like Michigan, we have Selfridge Air National Guard Base, we have the VA, we have the Army Corps. You know, Alabama down here, there's Huntsville. So you can absolutely try and find local federal work. You just got to kind of open your eyes and look around. And this is why I talk about doing target agencies. What agencies are in your backyard? And your backyard kind of is like your state, or the better part of your state. Focus on those target agencies. Get to know what they're buying and selling. Create a match between what you offer and what they want locally, and then start your business that way. And then you can grow and expand as you want to. That's exactly how I recommend, you know, to do it. It's tougher in some states because, like Michigan, we did not have a lot. We didn't have a lot of government agencies that were buying. You know, you go over to like Montana, I don't think there's a lot going on in Montana. So you might have to do stuff outside the state. So take inventory of what state you're in and take inventory of what you have around you in your backyard. And that's where I talk about in my courses, the low-hanging fruit. See what low-hanging fruit you have to get started and start there, and then work your way out. So I think you're on the right track. You're absolutely on the right track. So Vonda says, where do I go to apply for my business certifications, i.e. woman-owned small business? So they're actually ending the way that they currently do it, but you can go to certify.sba.gov. That's where you currently can do your woman-owned small business, but they are transitioning to a more like a third-party type certification process because people are abusing it. But I don't believe they've taken it down. So if you want to check out the website, certify.sba.gov, you just create a username and a password. It's like one of those quick 30-second things, and then you'll see where you could apply. You also go through that to start your 8A certification as well, Vonda. So check that out to get started. Lori says it's highly coveted and rarely taught. I can imagine, Lori. And I'm sure there's a good amount of demand for that. I don't know about in the GovCon space, but in the commercial space, and you probably I'm sure you know way more about the demand for that than I do. But we're living in a time and era where people want to learn so much. Look at what you can learn on YouTube. I call it YouTube University because anytime you need to do something, just search it up on YouTube, right? That's how you guys found my channel. Like, we're able to get into some really cool niche, super niche industries and ideas and things. I'm sure there's a good demand for that, and I'm sure you probably already found that. But for you being able to teach that, that sounds awesome because it will make you stand out from what others are doing, because others are probably not offering that in a modern technology type platform, and that goes for all of you guys getting into GovCon space. Again, remember, we're solving problems for our government contracting customers. If you don't know your customer and you don't know the problem, you're not going to be in business. So once you do, what ways can you solve those problems in a way that your competition might not be doing, or maybe is an old way and you've got a more innovative way? I know it's government. I know it's the government, and I know it's government contracting, so it's a little bit slower than the rest of the world. But these principles still apply. You're still solving problems, and if you can solve the problem in a different way, like you could write up your proposal response to a contract and say, we have a better way of doing this than you've been doing it. You can win a contract by doing that. And everything's not lowest price. So they will be willing to sometimes pay you more to get the quote unquote best value that your company offers, because you can do a better or a more efficient or whatever, a more future facing job on the contract. You can write that into your proposal responses. So I do challenge any of you to think about what is your industry, and what are some ways that you could do it in a way that's better or different than your competition. So thanks for that, Lori. The Fred says, okay, thanks. Been doing back-end work and certification work during the downtime, waiting for hunting season. Perfect. And before, the summer gets here and things get really busy, the spring contracts do come up, the middle of winter, you do see a slight uptick in solicitations, the Fred. But you can also be developing relationships and doubling down on your target agencies during that time as well, because you don't want to just be waiting, doing nothing for things to get busy. You want to be doing other things, kind of like at the same time in that downtime. It's just the things you do throughout the year are different, but you never stop doing the things. They just kind of change. Yusuf says, my question isn't showing up, but I see a lot of posts on sam.gov for software. Can I get started and how? Yusuf, so if you're talking about supplying software to the government, it's the same approach. Okay, what government agencies are buying software, and what type of software are they wanting to buy, right? Like, so you have to do the research first to answer the question. Yusuf, I'm an 18-year-old software developer. So Yusuf, I can tell you the government buys software all the time. Absolutely, right? But that doesn't solve all of your problems. You're kind of just getting started. You know, if you want to get started, I'm not sure what you mean. Get registered. If you want to get registered, I've got a free course that shows you what you need to do at my website. If you need to get started to do that, that's kind of what you need to do and how, if that's what your question is. But the process is get registered and start bidding, and then start building relationships, Yusuf. So that's all the different types of videos that we talk about, or the different types of steps that we talk about rather, and I break those up into, you know, all the different videos on my channel. If you're at the beginning part of getting registered, I recommend you check out that registration course on my website, or, you know, any other resources you can find on the internet, if that's what you mean by getting started. If you're past that, or if that's not what you mean, the posts never show enough information for me to understand what I need to do. So Yusuf, we've had a lot of folks successfully go through the course and get registered that I offer. So if you are having trouble getting registered and you don't understand what you need to do, I do recommend you go through that course then. It does sound like you're having that problem. And, you know, if you're having issues with that, jump back on a live or post in the Facebook group, because there's a lot of folks that are willing to help out. So if that's the problem you're having, you know, I recommend you get started there. So I'm just reading the chat here, guys. Just reading the chat. Camilla says, do you think the 8A we need to hire someone to apply, or can we do it ourselves? Camilla, no, you don't need to hire somebody, but you do need to be in business for 2 years before you do that. And I do recommend you have at least one government contract under your belt before you apply. It's one of those things that you want to take the most advantage of. It's only lasts for 9 years. And if you don't know how to respond to proposals, you don't have relationships, you don't have anything set up with your target agencies to begin with, then you should not, in my opinion, be getting into your 8A program yet. You should do all those things first. It's just a lot of information though, to answer your question. Folks will charge you $2,000 to do it for you, but the thing is, you still have to provide them all the same information because they don't know it. So if you can get the information yourself, you might as well just do it yourself. Ryan says, does SAM need to be updated yearly? So yeah, you just need to update your profile, and it'll ask you, like, update your entity registration, I believe is what SAM calls it. You do it on a yearly basis, and once you do that, you're good to go. So log into your SAM dashboard, and I believe you will see a button for update your entity registration, and that should take care of you and, you know, answer any questions. It should give you whatever you need to populate that. So it's really not that big of a deal. Camilla says, yes, YouTube is amazing. Literally learn everything there. Absolutely. I mean, YouTube University all the way. Jackson's World says, hey, what's going on, Jackson? Thanks for stopping by. Lori says, I will be starting a for-profit with the specialty dietary needs and market, which will support the laboratory arts, so as you do not require, so that you don't need donations. Got it. No, that's awesome, Lori. That's it sounds like you're onto something, and I would love to see the growth of that. I mean, especially special dietary needs is such a huge thing as well. You know, with I don't know. So I don't know what's going on, if it's the food sources or what, but it just seems to be that there's a lot more issues coming up with dietary needs. So I definitely could see why you'd be going into that, and it sounds like it would be a great thing. Let me see here. Jackson's World says, I'm stuck at Capital. I do get the question every now and then, Jackson's World, about Capital. You don't need necessarily a whole lot of money to get started in government contracting, but what you do need is the ability to purchase or supply or provide whatever good or service you're going to be offering for a period of time until you can get your net 30 or your net 60 billed against the government, and you can get those funds brought back in. So you don't need to float a contract for a year. You don't need to float a contract for half of a year. You shouldn't be floating a contract for 3 months. Somewhere between the 30 and 60 day mark, you need to be able to provide whatever the good or service is for the contract, and then you will start billing in arrears once you get set up in the wide area workflow or whatever billing process that agency uses. WAF, wide area workflow, is the most common. But if you are, for whatever reason, needing like money, you're saying you're stuck at Capital, the SBA has the most competitive rates for loans. But just in general right now, interest rates are like nothing. So you can almost get free money from any bank right now because, we're trying to stimulate the economy. So, the Federal Reserve, fiscal policy, they're trying to reduce interest rates, or they are reducing interest rates, or they have. They're already super, super low. So you can almost get, free money. So if you're stuck at Capital, now is not really been a better time in the U.S. history to get, very, very cheap money from banks. And, the SBA is even cheaper, and, they work with small business owners. So they may be a good place to go. I don't recommend like maxing out credit cards. The other thing you can look into is, it's called factoring. Factoring is a third-party company that will buy your invoice and they will front you the money. So there's something called factoring. If you want to look it up on Google, you could always do factoring, but I would maybe consider some other things first, because, doing business with companies that you don't know is sometimes risky, and I just don't want to see you take unnecessary risks. So Jackson's World, I'm not sure exactly what you need the Capital for. I don't recommend going out and getting a bunch of money. Just get the money that you need if you don't have it, or if you're not able to float things for those couple months for your first government contract. Ryan says, I applied for my 8A and received over 10 questions for clarification. Yes, Ryan, they are sticklers at the SBA. Mostly directed to a family member that recently graduated out of the program. Any advice? Should I wait and resubmit or answer? Ryan, they just ask a lot of questions in general, so don't feel like you're necessarily being targeted or anything like that. I mean, I've never heard of an application going through without it getting kicked back with a bunch of questions. So that is just know that that's very common. So maybe don't put an over amount of emphasis that happened. So I would absolutely just respond back and answer the questions. I'm not surprised that they're asking questions if you have, I think you said was it a family member? Yeah, a family member that recently ended their 9 years in the program. So they just want to make sure that you're not doing the paper tiger type thing where they're going to use your 8A business and try and cheat the system and get another 9 years out of the program. They actually have people that crack down on that, and people will go to jail for doing that. So I'm sure you're not doing that, but yeah, people try to cheat the 8A program and basically get a bunch of money from the government. The government does not do that, and I've met some of the people on the team that actually do that. They go and do the investigation and take them to court, and like I've talked to those people, so I'm somewhat knowledgeable of that process. And yeah, they just want to make sure you're not doing that. So I'm sure you have nothing to worry about. So just don't stress about that too much. I would just answer their questions and you should be fine. You say you're nervous it might be rejected. If they're asking those type of questions, I don't think you would be rejected. You're more likely to be rejected based off of not being able to prove that you're socially and economically disadvantaged. That's the number one reason folks get rejected, because they couldn't make the case for that. And then the second reason is that they can't prove that they will be successful in the program. So sometimes they will reject you because it doesn't seem like you're going to be successful in the program, and they only want small business owners in this that are fully committed and that can prove they will be successful. So I think if you've cleared those two hurdles, that you shouldn't be that nervous. Although I understand what you mean by that. Lori says, we will offer to make government custom military medals. That's pretty cool. I don't know if there's a lot of contracts for that, Lori, but there may be a little bit of demand for that. So that would be something cool to offer. That probably a lot of contractors just have no idea and not able to offer it. Jackson says, hi, I'm Tony. Hey, Tony. And you just formed your LLC and you want to administer paralegal and admin services and placements to start. You can do it. Professional administrative type procurements are definitely something that the government buys. I'm excited that you said that you want to go into that, because there are contracts for that. And you can absolutely do it. That is one of my favorite niches, actually, is the professional and admin staffing space. So good for you, Tony. I think you can definitely make a go of that. Yeah, Lori, silver star, bronze star, etc. I haven't seen any solicitations for that. I don't know what the process is, but just imagine the type of clout and reputation your business would be able to have, Lori, if you were able to provide like silver stars and bronze stars. That would be really, really awesome. Yusuf says that I meant for the contract. Okay, so Yusuf, if you're not talking about registering and you're talking about the bidding process, then it all starts with being able to read. That's why I have a number of YouTube videos that show you how to read, identify, and extract the key information that you need to from a bid from reading it. And then what you do is you create an outline based on the instructions to offerers that they put in the RFP or the RFQ, and you develop an outline based off of that, and then you just fill it in. And then if you have like the SF 1449 page or the SF 1442 page, you sign that, you do your reps and certs. It's hard for me to break the process down for you in the live, but I do have videos that talk about that, and how to read and create an outline is also a free course that I have that talks about exactly what I'm talking about, Yusuf, and I actually show you all the key sections of a solicitation in that free course as well. So I would just advise you to check that out if you're talking about bidding. Lisette says, this would be my first bid. How exciting. I'm not sure how to go about to research for suppliers, doing a lot of online searches. Yeah, Lisette, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we're entrepreneurs, so you just have to get after it. That is the value add that you're providing the government, so you have to be able to do that. So just keep searching. I mean, it's the struggle that we all go through, and developing those key relationships is what is the advantage sometimes, because you can get special pricing after you develop relationships. Sometimes you can get quantity discounts, things like that. So you just got to get started somewhere. Let me see here. Okay, guys, I'm gonna take a break to the chat, a break from the chat, and then I'll come back to it in a minute. One thing, and first off, I just want to say thank you for all the well wishes. I did a video a week ago. I wasn't feeling very well, and it's part of the reason why I've been out of it for the last month. Aside from me moving, aside from me not having access to stable internet, which obviously still seems to be the case, so I'm gonna have to figure out the issue there. But I was dealing with some sort of health issue, and I'm feeling a lot better. I started taking vitamins. I went to the doctor yesterday. The doctor did a urine test, and he said, "Bud, everything's good. Like, you seem, healthy as a horse." And the last few days, I had already been feeling better on my own. I'm so thankful for that, because I didn't want to feel like crap going through the holidays. Not to mention, I've been in the middle of building this big program for you guys and for all of us, and I had to take some time off because I just did not feel well enough. So I'm back. Hopefully it doesn't come back or anything. So I don't know what it was, but I'm just glad that I'm feeling better. And thank you to all of you guys who sent me some prayers and some well wishes after my last video that I did last week. I wanted to mention that in this live, so thank you so much. So let me get caught up here. We're probably going to do another 10 minutes or so, guys, because we are, I don't really want to go longer than an hour and a half. So let me try and catch up on the comments as much as I can. I wrote down a whole bunch of questions and I didn't even get to them, and that's okay. I'd rather answer your guys' questions instead of my strange questions anyways. So let me find where I left up on the comments. Camilla said, yes, I am do-it-yourself. She says, yes, I'm a do-it-yourself type person, so thank you for that. Camilla, I have faith that you can do that. If that's the type of person you are, I have faith in you, and I'll leave it with that. Ryan says, great advice on the 8A, you're better off doing it yourself, 100%. Vonda says, I want to get started with admin staffing like you suggested in one of your videos. Do you have any further advice if I go this route? My advice to you, Vonda, would be to consider what type of, so if you're going to do admin staffing, I was going to say consider what type of staffing you want to do, but if you already say you want to do admin staffing, what I would recommend is locking down your pricing. I would recommend getting really good at pricing. Usually what I would recommend is, identifying a niche or an industry within staffing. If you're saying you already got that, then you're already one step ahead. You need to get good at your pricing. You need to understand how the SCA wage determinations work, because those apply to all of your staffing contracts more than likely. And they're going to kind of designate what you're going to charge, and you're going to take that pay rate of what you're going to charge, and then you're going to put on your profit and your G&A and your PTO, your vacation for your employees, your fringe, your company's overhead, all that stuff. And then you're going to arrive at your bill rate, and that's the number, the total rolled up number. That's the number that you need to provide to the government. These type of proposals are not particularly difficult. Usually they want a resume, a quick staffing plan, and then they want to look at your pricing. It's not hard to get a good resume or a staffing plan, but sometimes it's difficult to be competitive in pricing if you don't know what to do. So Vonda, my advice to you would spend some time to understand the wage determinations, ask questions in our Facebook group, whatever you got to do. That is the one area I would recommend that you work on next. Ryan says, again, really great advice. Thank you. 100% Ryan, you got it. Andrew says, do you have more info on getting into healthcare consulting? I'm a surgical physician assistant, and I just started a consultation company. How cool. Congrats, Andrew. Congrats on that. Healthcare consulting, there's so many different industries within government contracting. I can only talk about the ones I have specific experience in. I don't have specific experience in healthcare consulting. So my answer to you, Andrew, would be the answer that I give to anybody in any field. How to get started in it is how you would get started in anything, and it's what I've been hammering on during this live session, which we all need to hear and be reminded of. But identify what is the equivalent of that in the government's terms. So you have to figure out what the government terms are for healthcare consulting. If that is the solution you're going to offer, what does the government call that? i.e. what NAICS code, what PSC code did I identify that under, okay? And then go through the process. I'm not going to repeat it all over again, but the process of, finding how much of it is spent, who spends the most of it, make them your target agencies, build a relationship, and just double down, go to town. Because why would you spend time with anyone else except for those agencies that buy the most of it? And through this process, you may find out that agencies aren't buying it, in which case you have a good idea, but it's not something the government needs, And so we're starting really at the beginning, Andrew. Does the government need this type of healthcare consulting? I don't know. I'm sure the government buys it to some extent, but if you're going to build a business, you need to build it on a solid proof of concept with a strong foundation, so that after a year, you shouldn't be asking this question: is the government even buying this? Like, now is the time to sort this out if you haven't. So again, that's my answer to everybody with that type of question. I don't have healthcare consulting specific information just because it's not my area of experience, but I don't think you need to. I think it sounds like you have the credentials and it's something that you're an expert in and you're able to provide it. So I think you're good on that. You just need to do the legwork to find, where's your customer at? Are they at the VA? Are they at Health and Human Services? Are they with NASA? Are they with the DoD? Go out and seek out where your customer is and learn more about them and speak their language, speak their terms, and get started that way. Ryan says, my bonding company is really strict. I hear you. I agree 100%. Guys are taking advantage of the system for sure. And then also, I read somewhere that only one family member can have the 8A cert, that it would require a waiver. Any truth to that? I think that's probably true. I can't point to anything, but I know a number of folks, small business owners who have gotten into the 8A program. They interview your spouse. They interview your spouse into a good amount of depth and detail because you are a household, and because of commingling, it just wouldn't surprise me that they don't allow that. So I think there probably is truth to that. One more thing, my bonding capabilities went up to 5 million. All right, awesome. Really thankful for all your input. And I was getting discouraged at first. Your videos helped so much. Thank you so much, Ryan. I know you've been around for a little bit, I think since the summer. So I'm really glad that it helped, because there's just not enough of these type of conversations that are happening. And sometimes all you need, and this is for all of you guys watching live and anybody on replay, if you feel like you're alone in this, if you feel like you're the only one, like, I totally get why you would feel that way. Because like I said earlier, less than 1% of the population probably doesn't even, are the only ones who know what government contracting is. So, and you can just, when something happens, you don't have the strength to overcome it, or it just seems too overwhelming, or it's too scary, or if you just feel like you're the only one doing it, it's much easier to quit or to throw in the towel. Versus if you know all these other people are doing it and they're going through all the same things that you are, then you're like, I can do this. It may still be a challenge, but I can do this. So thank you so much for that, Ryan. Lisette, thank you so much. I'm feeling so much better. Camilla says, okay, so GovCon for Dummies. Let's say you would start making a CAPE statement, update the profile with references, learning how to bid. Like, what order would you tackle your list if you were just starting? So I can definitely, okay, so let me see. You said I didn't mean dummies, I meant basic 101. Yeah, I got you on that. Obviously start with a cage and apply for certs, sure. But while you are waiting, what would you tackle next? If a particular order, so I can make a to-do list. Okay, I'll take you up on that challenge. Let me see what I can say specifically in order. Interesting question, I like it. So, you've already submitted your information for a cage and a DUNS number, and any certifications that you're wanting to get, at least in the short term, you've already submitted on those. So we're gonna take those off the table, and then you're basically left with, okay, now what do I do? So what you would do next you're probably going to hate me for saying this because it's what I've been saying, but maybe putting it in this context will make it consumable for you. So what I would do is I would find the top 3 to 5 agencies that are buying my main NAICS code. So I literally would find the agencies. I would go to USA Spending, Advanced Search, if you don't know how to do it, type in your NAICS codes on the left scroll bar, and I would take a look at that. There's going to be a bar chart that you can see once you start playing around with the different filters at the top. It's going to show you the top 3 to 5 agencies that are spending the most. Some agencies are going to spend this much, and then it's going to go down like this, and then like this, and then it's going to massively go down. It's going to be like this, and like this, and like this. Write down those agencies that are buying this amount, the big amount on that bar chart. Okay, write those down. And then go into beta.sam and see what type of bids they're putting out with. Search by the agency, search by the NAICS code. Right now, what you're doing is you're creating a proof of concept. So before you go any further and you start learning how to bid or build relationships or schedule meetings with the agency OSDBU or market to contracting officers or go to GovCon conferences, these are all the things that we ultimately should be doing. But if we're making a list and you've already did your K's and your dones and your certs, this is what you need to do if you haven't done it. At the top of your list, who are those top 3 to 5? Because those are the ones that you're going to be responding to source of SWOT market research with and all the other things that I've listed. So do that, get your list, and then contact next on the list, reach out to the OSDBUs. So OSDBU, and this is how you get your foot in the door at those agencies. So once you know what the agency is, because you looked on that bar chart, then you're going to begin your relationship with those agencies. You're going to schedule something called a capability briefing. Capability briefing. Do that, and then you're going to set up a phone call because of COVID, or maybe you can get in person. You're basically going to talk about your capability statement, assuming you already have that made also. You're going to learn about the opportunities at the agency, and then you're going to learn, you're going to be able to express your company with the small business office. So do that next. So top 3 to 5 agencies, number 1. Number 2, capability briefing with those agencies. Number 3, start responding to source of SWOT market research. And CC, do a carbon copy if you can with that small business person that you met with in step 2. So at the OSDBU, you're going to meet with a person. It's going to be a small business rep or a small business liaison. Okay, in step 3, you want to CC them on your source of SWOT notice response to keep them in the loop of what you're doing. Okay, then number 4, we talk about the 4 stages of a bid. I'm not going to get into the 4 stages of a bid right now, but source of SWOT is stage 1. Stage 3 is the actual solicitation. Once that source of SWOT becomes a solicitation, then you need to respond to it. Okay, so number 4 is respond to solicitations, which are bids, RFPs and RFQs out of those agencies. So do those 4 main things, and then the last one, which will be the cherry on top, after you respond to the bid, if you didn't win, schedule what's called a request for proposal debrief. This will be just the top 5 that I give you. So once you're bidding, you don't want to just bid and if you don't win, move on. You want to request a proposal debrief in writing within 3 days of the award being made to the contracting officer. They'll get on the phone with you for 15-20 minutes, tell you how to make your response better so that you can rinse and repeat this exact same cycle. So you just keep doing this over and over and over. With each revolution, it gets better because you get that feedback, and eventually you will start winning. Okay, so those 5 things, top 3 to 5 agencies, OSDBU, source of SWOT, solicitation, and then proposal debrief. So that's what I would say to you if I were to give you a list of things. Probably take you a whole year to go through that. Ryan, hey, thank you so much for the super sticker, Ryan. I appreciate the support. definitely not necessary, but it is definitely appreciated. Just the appreciation for the channel is, is all that I need. So thank you so much. I appreciate you sticking around and asking some great questions. Camilla, Camilla, I hope those 5 steps answer your question. I hope that was a good answer to the challenge. I hope I passed the challenge on that. So guys, just got a few more minutes here. My phone's literally on going on less than 10%. So we are going to have to wrap it up. So I'll try to answer whatever else we have in the chat here. Again, thank you, Ryan, for the super sticker. I appreciate your support for the channel, man. Ebony says, when shipping products, what's the best way to do it? Kind of an open-ended question, but basically follow, assuming you have a government contract to ship something. Some folks do the whole white label thing because they worry about, hey, this product is going to get to the government on site and it's not going to have my company information on it. So some folks will do a white label where the supplier will slide in your company information into the package. So, the government customer, the PM receiving whatever it is you're shipping, knows what contracting company it is from. Since it's being, shipped directly from the supplier to the customer, it's not going to be shipped from the supplier to your business, and then you're going to ship it to the customer. You would just lose all the money in shipping, and you would not be competitive in your pricing. So some folks will do some sort of white label option. However, it is not necessary. The government does expect that that's kind of what you would be doing, like a drop shipping type model. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about that. So if that's kind of where you're coming from or where you're asking, my best recommendation at that point would just be in constant communication with the core. Once you win a contract, once you win a delivery contract, the government's going to say, hey, here's a person, Mr. or Miss. It's the contracting officer's representative. It's their job to make sure the stuff you're shipping gets there, and they're going to inspect it. And only once they inspect it and they ensure it's all there intact, will you be able to bill on the contract. At this point, my recommendation would be to be in constant contact with an individual so that you can give them a heads up, let them know when it's going to be shipped and then when it's going to be delivered, and then just start following up once you've received confirmation of delivery to get that feedback, to make sure everything's good, to really just push the process along to make sure that they're good, but so that you can get paid, because I want you to get paid, and I want you to be paid as quickly as possible. And sometimes with these type of contracts, they're small enough they can just do a credit card purchase, so they'll literally just take the information over the phone, and you can get paid over the phone that way. So I hope that helps. James says he got your DUNS number, James. Registered in SAM, registered your LLC, completely registered with the government, got it. Also, I know I want to focus on web development contracts for the government. What are the next steps? So James, those 5 steps that I just gave Camilla, I would also give to you. It sounds like you're in a similar spot. So those 5 steps of targeting your 3 to 5 government agencies that are spending and buying the most of what it is you're going into, web development. So find the top 3 to 5 agencies for web development. Then do your capability briefing with those agencies. Then start responding to sources sought. CC the small business specialist. Number 4, respond to solicitations, and then request proposal debriefs. After you've got some bids out, request those debriefs on those. So those 5 steps that I mentioned earlier, I would also recommend to you, James. I recommend those are the steps for everybody. If you're saying, I'm registered, now what do I do? That's what you do. And it just becomes a revolution. And each spin around the wheel, you get better and better until you start winning. And then once you start winning, it's a whole different game, because now you have new relevant past performance. You have new government customers that you can basically spider web out and network and build internal relationships and get contracts from a whole different angle. But right now, everything we talk about is just, cracking the rock. which is the hardest part, getting the contract, getting the first one, getting your first foot in the door. That's what this revolution process is, to get your foot in the door. It becomes a lot easier after you're able to basically crack that. So I hope that helps. Camilla says, I see, makes a lot of sense, and other stuff we will learn as we go. Yeah, I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? Wow, thank you so much. I wrote it down. God bless you. You're so welcome, and thank you. God bless you. Can't wait to update on your Facebook group. Happy Thanksgiving. Yes, happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys. Is this possible from Germany, Europe, and USA? Love your knowledge. Nico asks, so this will be the last comment that I respond to, guys, just for the interest of time and the interest of my phone dying. So Nico says, is it possible to do this from Germany? Nico, I don't know if you are a US citizen or not. If you are, I kind of answered this question at the beginning, so it'll be a similar answer. But if you're a US citizen, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of trouble just because you're in Germany. But if you are a non-US citizen and you're a German citizen, I believe Germany does participate in NATO. What you do is you get an N cage code, which is a NATO cage code instead of the regular cage code. So anybody who's wanting to do something as a non-US citizen or outside the US, if you go to Google and type in N cage code, it's a bit of a different process. So you could look into getting that. That's how you would do that. The other thing is you could just ask the Federal Service Desk. They're like the behind the scenes for beta.sam. And even behind the scenes for sam.gov. They are the behind the scenes for several different federal type platforms, if you will. So if you kind of don't know who to ask, they answer a lot of questions about the out of the country type thing. So it's called the Federal Service Desk. If you go to Google, you can literally get on the phone with somebody and get those type of questions answered as well. Let me see here. Okay, we just got one more comment, and then I will wrap it up, guys. So Musarat just entered in the final comment, says, I have a healthcare staffing agency. Awesome. Can I bid for contracts where they ask for radiologists, RNs, or physicians? How can I approach those contracts? Yeah, you absolutely can. I've won those contracts myself. I've won similar contracts. I've placed physicians on contracts. OTAs, COTAs, research coordinators, physical therapists, lots of other things in the medical related field. So how do you approach them? You approach them like anything else. I guess I'm the master of vague answers today, guys. But you just approach them like anything else. You have to identify the NAICS code or the PSC code that these type of contracts are under. So there are medical NAICS codes that exist. Find what those codes are, plug those in beta.sam, and then see what comes up. And based off of the search results in beta.sam, you can more narrow down the appropriate codes for you. Then you can start taking action on those other related things that I've talked about already on this live stream. Do they have to be part of my business ownership? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. If you're talking about NAICS codes being in your sam.gov, yes, they should be in your sam.gov profile. But other than that, I'm not sure what you mean by should they be part of my business ownership. But yeah, even if not, just so you know, that is all you have to really do. Let's add those NAICS codes to your sam.gov profile, and you would be able to add or edit those as you wish. Sorry to clarify, the physicians or the RNs? No. So yes. So the actual staffed employees do not have to be part of your business ownership. You are the business owner. Okay. Your physicians, anybody you're going to be staffing, you're going to give them a W-2. They are going to be an employee on a contract. So they will be W-2. They're not even going to be 1099 unless it's like a one and done type thing. So they're not part of the ownership in your business. It's just you or any of your business partners. As long as I'm understanding your question correctly, that is the answer to the question. You just don't have to worry about it, because the thing is, these physicians, these RNs, they don't stick around. Like if you know the staffing industry, these people they're hoppers. they jump all over the place, And it's one of the challenges with the staffing industry is you have to backfill positions, or sometimes the government, they will take an employee because you did such a good job at giving them such a good and talented W-2 employee that's going to work on their site. The government says, I like them so much, I'm going to offer them a permanent job, but you still have to fulfill on the contract. So now you have to give us another person on the contract, and they like steal your people that way. So anybody that knows the staffing industry, that's a game that happens all the time. In the commercial space, it definitely happens in the government space as well. Except the government, they don't have to pay you out. Like, they don't have to buy the employee off of you. They can just like take them, and your employee will just leave, and then you have to backfill. So that's kind of the hardest thing about staffing with the government. But yeah, it sounds like that answered your question. So I'm glad and happy to help. So guys, thank you so much. I'm glad that we were able to make this happen. We did have technical difficulties at the beginning. I didn't get through all of my fun questions, but we got through, I think, all of your questions here in the chat live, and that's even more important to me, that you're getting value and you're getting some blocks removed from making you allowing you to make steps forward in your GovCon business in the new year ahead. So that that makes me happy. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. It's been a lot of fun for me. Like I said, I've dearly missed hopping on live with you. And thank you, Ryan and Yada, for the support for the channel today as well. Give you guys an extra shout out on that. I really appreciate it, and thanks for sticking around. So for those of you who will be celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow, happy Thanksgiving. Hope you and your family enjoy it. And I'm going to try to get, I don't want to set myself in stone here, but I'm going to try to get back to doing the YouTube lives every week, as long as I can figure out this internet issue that I was having earlier today. So I'll see you guys. I'll see you around. Just stay tuned for what I've got coming up next. And the new program I'm working on is basically in the headlines for me every day. So I'm looking forward to having some of you enroll in the new program. Hopefully I can get it opened up for you all in January. It's a year-long program, a lot of good stuff, and we'll be talking more about that over time. So I'll see you guys later.